Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. Broaden the scope of exposure for your business by going beyond the interview. Learn more at www.jmmdmediallc.com or email us at jmmdradio@gmail.com. Remember, you have been criticizing yourself for years, and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. Louise L. Hay, from her book, You Can Heal Your Life. Rebekah Hansen, who is a care of self relationship coach and a John Maxwell Certified Trainer, speaker, and coach. For 20 plus years, she has passionately worked with women, helping them to thrive when feelings of brokenness and overwhelm abound. Today, her work is with dynamic women who need to navigate and power through the drain despite exhaustion, overwhelming stress, and feeling alone. Rebekah shows them the way to give themselves guilt-free permission to stop, rest, feel whole, and live the life they deserve. Her encouragement for all women is that we recognize that it is not a selfish act to show self-compassion, seek support, and know that there are moments when it is perfectly okay to not be okay. Welcome, Rebekah.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome, my dear. Oh my God. Aren't we all broken at some point?
At some point, yeah. Ask me how that became my mission.
Yeah, well, there you go. How did that become your mission?
Out of a season of brokenness myself, actually. I call it I'm now living in my grace season because of the broken season that came before this. And so it caused me to having a loss in my own life is what it was in my life. It was a loss of my mother, and it completely floored me, and I couldn't figure out how to bounce back. And so I spent a year fumbling around trying to figure out who to talk to, where to go, who would understand. And I felt like I was just missing it constantly, and I felt so lonely. And I decided at one point that if I ever got out of it, because there's a little bit there where I wondered if I ever would, I'm never going to get over the loss. I will go on in spite of it. But I remember feeling, I wonder if I'm ever going to feel okay again. And, I don't know that I, my grandson just walked in.
That's okay.
This is real life, guys.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, I was in that season. I kind of wondered if I would ever feel whole again. And I decided then and there, if I ever got back on my feet, I would make it my mission to make sure no one else ever felt as alone as I felt in that moment. And that's not discrediting the support I had from my family and friends that I did have. It's just, it was such a unique, different season. I'd never experienced anything like that before. And so I needed something more. And I didn't know how to find it. And so I made up my mind that nobody else would have that problem. I would make sure there was a place.
Wow.
That's how it became my mission.
Yes. And I think we've all been through, I remember being broken during the divorce. And although your friends and your family, they support you, you still have this gloom over you. You want to get through it, but you can't in that moment. And do you find that that's like a grieving period? Anytime you lose somebody, whether it's through death, divorce, whatever, you have to have that grieving period.
Absolutely. 2020 was a prime example of that. People lost so much, and there was, of course, deaths in that, but there was also the loss of, kids' graduations. There was a loss of, the ability to go visit your parents and, the grandkids seeing their grandparents, grandparents seeing their grandkids. There was a loss of our normalness. I don't ever remember a time before that where it wasn't, you just didn't jump in the car and go to whatever store you wanted to. And
Yeah.
suddenly that was stripped away. So it was like, even to the most simplest of things, we lost something.
Yeah.
And so I think even 2020, there's a lot of people I work with now that are grieving what they lost through 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it isn't a quote unquote loss you can wrap your hand around, your mind around. A lot of times it isn't like, okay, it was a death of this person, or it was in fact, I have clients apologize to me for feeling like they are grieving something. They're like, I don't know why I'm, I should be. And I always tell people, first of all, stop saying should. That should be, and I say should right now, that word needs to be taken completely out of your vocabulary. Because who is putting this on us? Who is saying we shouldn't feel the things we feel? Who is saying that it's not okay to grieve something, to have wished things to be different, to want things to be better? I mean, that's telling you, okay, it's not okay to be human.
Not so.
That's very true. Very true. Because we all have things that we regret, and we beat ourselves up about it in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then
sometimes the middle and the end.
Yes. Sometimes we take it to our grave. For sure. For sure. Ruth, you seem like you got something on the tip of your tongue.
No, not really. Just listening to the conversation. And yes, I'm just in total agreement. People have lost a lot during those years of the pandemic, of the active highlight of the pandemic. And many people are just waking up to what they've lost. It's like any situation, crisis situation, you get through it. But it's the aftermath where you feel the backlash and you really start saying, oh my goodness, I don't feel well. I don't feel emotionally well. And they're just beginning to realize how they're really feeling. And there's just a lot of different reactions to that. What are some of the reactions that you see people bringing to you, as they wake up from the different losses in their life, especially the ones around the pandemic?
A lot of just like an uncertainty of what's next, of what to expect, of how to move forward from it. A lot of negativity, unfortunately, because they're speaking out of fear. There's a lot of just feeling like they don't want to plan or hope too much or expect too much, because it's almost like they're still living in that mindset, even though we've quote unquote come out of it. They're still stuck in that moment. It's stuck. That's the word I was looking for. I have a lot of people who are stuck.
Okay. Yeah. And it's understandable.
How do I move forward? How do I begin again? And then that's when they start putting it back on themselves. Well, I should be able to do this. And I know, and I have people tell me all the time. In fact, it was just a couple of days ago. She said, I know all the things I'm supposed to do, but I'm not doing any of them. Like, what's wrong with me?
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of being stuck and wondering what's wrong with me. And it's kind of a frightening place to be, because you really don't know how to get yourself out of it. It's easier to sleep, eat, sit in front of the television, and you could be looking across the room and saying, I know I need to get this and that done, but I just can't. I need to grow my business, but I just can't. And I think for many people, and I believe you already said it, it's the insecurity. The pandemic created such a sense of insecurity. And now people, even though they want to go forward, there's a part that's like, what's the purpose? Because something else is going to happen. It's almost like this cannot be the end of bad things. Because it was so bad. There has to be something even worse coming, waiting for the other shoe to fall kind of feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I tell people in that statement, my biggest thing is just recognize where you are. Like, recognize that you know, I'm not saying I should be this or I should be that, but recognize I feel afraid. I feel, you know, stuck. I feel, you know, you fill your word in, you know, I feel this, I feel that. I recognize it, give it, for lack of a better way to put it, give it honor for the season you're in right now. Give yourself honor for that season. You're not giving the thing honor, you're giving it to yourself and saying it's okay to have difficult seasons. It's like we're expecting, I think we've been kind of conditioned to believe that we should be a certain way because we're watching everybody's highlight reels.
Yes.
Our businesses should look like, you know, their business. You know, I go to the gym once and I come home and I should look like The Rock, you know, minus the bald head, because I don't want the bald head.
Absolutely.
But you know, you go through, we have this idea that it's going to be easy, and what we don't realize is those stories, they have a story behind their story too. They didn't just wake up and, you know, have muscles this size. They didn't just wake up and have a business that's successful. And if they're telling you they did, I wouldn't believe it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we give ourselves, we say, okay, well, we're comparing ourselves to this and we shouldn't be here, we should this, we should that, you know. And we women are the worst because we're comparing ourselves to other mothers, we compare ourselves to other daughters, we compare ourselves to our own mothers, we compare ourselves to our friends, our sisters, you know. We just, it's like this game we play with ourselves. And you kind of have to look at it and go, when are you ever going to truly be everything you want to be? I mean, I'm going to spend my lifetime trying to be that person, but I'll probably never be all the things I think I need to be. And so I have to just stop where I am right now and say, I'm giving myself permission to be in this season that's not exactly what I want. I'm doing a lot better in this season right now personally, but I'm not 100% where I want to be every single day. You know, I don't bat 1,000 with my children every single day. I don't bat 1,000 with my husband every single day. I don't bat 1,000 in my business every day. You know, I'd love to be able to say, oh yeah, I got it all figured out, but who wants to hear that anyway?
Yeah, really.
I want to hear that, you know, there's difficult moments for those people too, for those people to have it all. I want to hear about, you know, about how they gave themselves grace in those moments and how they move forward. And I want to hear their stories of triumph and victory. You know, that's inspirational. And so,
How do
yeah,
you get to that place of giving yourself the grace? Because, you know, we beat ourselves up for everything. I mean, everything, single thing. So to get out of that mindset, what are some of the things we should do on a regular basis? Because every day is different. Some days it's high, some days it's low.
yeah, I agree.
So what do we do to be more conscious and intentional about not beating ourselves up if we're having a rough period or a rough season?
I think the first thing, personally, what works with me, because I mean, it's, you know, I always tell people whatever I tell you is what has worked in my own life. So if it doesn't work for you, that's, you know, that's okay. But take the idea, take what you can use out of it. So what works for me is a lot of times, like I said earlier, just giving myself permission to be right where I am right now. Like, I tell you, like, it's okay to not be exactly where I want to be right now. I won't always be in this season. You know, I'm not going to stay here forever, but it's okay to be here right now. And then you actually said one of the words is, and that's be intentional. You have to be intentional about what is coming out of your mouth, what is coming into your mind. I've had seasons where I've had to wear headphones with something like playing in my ears that was uplifting or, you know, just building up.
Mm-hmm.
Just so that the voices in my head would shut up a little bit more. You know, you have to find little, and those are little things that you can do to kind of to start reconditioning yourself. But the biggest thing is you have to be intentional about it. You have to be intentional. You have to take a hold of it, because nobody's going to fix things, or I shouldn't say the word fix. Nobody's going to get you where you want to go or make you be who you're going to be but yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's on you. So
Yeah.
you got to figure that out first. You got to get intentional and say, how bad do I want to get to where I want to go? How bad do I want to be better? How bad do I want things to, you know, how badly do I want to pick up this dream that's been my lifelong dream and start moving toward it again? You know, how bad do I want it? And only you can make that decision. And then it's every day showing up consistently. And my new thing lately is I'm not 100% every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day I do not wake up 100%. My health may be, you know, causing me to have a bad day. I may be fighting with one of my kids. You know, I may be, you know, the business may be driving me crazy. You know, my husband may be driving me crazy. You know, it could be any number of things that cause you to not be 100%. And especially when, like, I was coming out of this season of grief and so forth, I definitely wasn't at 100%. But I told myself, you show up 100% of the 50% you are today.
Wow. Say that again.
You show up 100% of whatever percentage you are that day. So if you're only 25% that day, then give 100% to that 25%.
Right.
Wow. I like that.
I like that too.
I
Yes.
like that.
And maybe one day I'll roll out of bed and I'll be 125%.
There may be some days that are like that. You actually do wake up and it feels like, oh, I'm feeling really good. Everything seems to be in place, you know, and this is an important concept for us. And women, as we said earlier, we tend to do a number on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We criticize until we can't criticize ourselves anymore. And one of the things that I'm learning recently is how to exercise patience with myself, to be patient with myself, you know, to stop demanding myself to be superwoman or trying to multitask when I really don't have the resources, the internal resources to do that. And I think sometimes we're in those seasons where you just can't do it. You want to. Like I said, you can look across the room and see that all these things that need to be done, but you don't have the internal resources at the time, the strength, internal strength to do it all. And that's when I think patience, learning to exercise patience with ourselves is so critical.
Mm-hmm.
And that patience will give us an opportunity to have self-compassion. We just dump on ourselves so badly. Every once in a while, I have to tell myself, stop it. Stop it.
Absolutely. I feel you, because we all go through it at some point. And Rebekah, if people want to work with you, how do they do so?
I have coaching programs that I offer. So I do group coaching as well as one-to-one coaching. I also do a free workshop that is actually how I met Ida.
Yes. Yeah, that is. And it was so on time. I needed her on that day.
But I do offer those, and if people would like more information, I have where my brain go blank. I have a website where they can leave a message, or I can drop an email. I can leave an email with somebody where you can get it to people who are interested in. And I also have a link to the next free workshop that I have. But I actually am filling up a 6-month walk-in grace group coaching program, and we already have a few of the places filled, so it is filling up quickly. So I would encourage you, if it's something that interests you, to work through. We start with 5 steps in that free workshop where we talk about just giving ourselves permission to be in the seasons we're in, and permission to stop and rest and get pointed in the right direction. And then in that 6-month program, we dive in head first.
Righty now. Yes, and Rebekah is also very, very active on LinkedIn.
I am.
I see you every day, stuff coming out and things happening. So definitely look her up on LinkedIn, because she is very, very active there. So
It's
what? So I
probably
know you
a place
talked
to
about
find me, actually.
yes. So your training that you went through, how
Mhm.
was that for you? When you
Um,
started your training, were you through your period of when you were going through your changes? So when did that start for you, your actual training?
oh man, that was a ways back, actually. I've been a coach for a long, long time. This is
Okay.
just a new avenue that I am. It's newish. It's not new anymore. I keep calling it new, but it's not new anymore. It's my baby. This Grace series is my baby right now.
Okay.
And so it's my newest offering that I've added to my coaching program. But the actual going for my certification and all that was several years ago. I had been doing coaching. I actually, people say, how'd you get started? I kind of fell into coaching. I'm not saying I was an overnight success in any way, shape, or form, but I did never labeled it as being a coach for a long time because it organically became part of my life. And then I turned it into a business over time. And so I decided at one point that I wanted to invest a little more in myself. So I went and got a certification through John Maxwell. And that was a very good, enriching experience going through that. It's a really in-depth program that you go through. And I am a lifelong learner. So it was right up my alley.
Yes, yes.
So,
Yes, and I could say the same. Coaching found me. I didn't know anything about coaching. And one day I get this call. I'm on my way to work. I get this call from this lady. I love her voice. And next thing you know, I was in this program and my whole life turned around. And and it was like I couldn't even remember how I used to be.
mhm,
I didn't even realize how much control you have over things. I didn't know any of that.
mhm.
So it was an amazing journey in terms of falling into it. And it must have been what I needed at the time because I said yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's the thing is in fact, I tell my clients this, it's like, I'm not going to try to convince you to need a coach or to work with me or any of those other things. How bad do you want it? Whether it's with me or somebody else, how bad do you want to get to where you want to go? And that's exactly why you get a coach, is you find somebody who will take you where you want to go, but you have to be willing to do the work.
Yes.
And I do that with my own coach. I have to be willing to do the work. If I'm gonna say I want to be somewhere, then guess what? That means I got to put my boots on and strap them, tie
Mhm.
them up and all that good stuff and jump into it.
Yes,
So,
yes, indeed. And it's a everyday, ongoing activity. It is nothing that you do one time and then you okay. Because you're never going to be okay. It's always going to be something that comes up to rock your world.
mhm,
Well,
absolutely.
peel the onion. As soon as you get through those first few layers and you think you're all happy and everything, you take a deep breath and then you find that that onion is not the size of one in the kitchen. It's like a house. The more you peel, the
The
more you
bigger
find.
it gets.
Yes, the more you peel, the bigger it gets. It's like, yeah. And that's a good thing. If you're willing to do it, it's an awesome experience because you learn things about yourself
Mhm,
that you've hidden from yourself. That's what I found. And
Yeah.
so many of us spend a lifetime hiding. That's why coaching is so important right now. It's
mhm.
really a critical skill that is needed by many, many people. So,
Yes.
Agreed.
yeah.
I've had a
Right.
coach tell me, it sounds like you're making an excuse to me. And I'm like, no, no, not making an excuse. Oh, no, that's not it. But they call you on your stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah, I guess I was making an excuse. And I have to go back the next week and go, yeah, I guess I was making an excuse. As soon as I faced it, I got it
Yeah.
done.
And that's a key word that you just said, face it,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, you must be honest with yourself.
Absolutely.
You have to be honest with yourself. You might not tell nobody else about it, But you better be honest with yourself.
Sometimes when we're honest with ourselves and share that honesty with a trusted other person, you get the feedback that you need, not what you want to hear, but
Yeah.
what you need to hear.
Yeah.
And I had a situation like that this past Sunday where I had an experience. I did not feel good about myself afterward. I shared it with someone else. And the feedback that they gave me is that you need to learn how to say no. When someone's coming at you with something that you don't want to hear, you need to just say, no, I'm not hearing it, and either walk away or do something else. To learn how to say no, I think that's one of the great things about coaching, is that it will get you to the point where you start saying no. You start saying yes to yourself, but you start saying no to a lot of externals, things that you really don't want to deal with, things you don't want to hear about, talk about, or anything else.
Right.
And you begin to feel okay. It's like, oh, I'm perfectly okay with saying no. Ooh, that felt good. Because so many times in our lives we were taught, infants get to be toddlers and they learn that magic word no. And then we train them not to say no. And that's what we carry with us into adulthood. We carry the yes, 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 when we really want to say no. And that's one of the things that I love about coaching and being coached. Learn how to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a complete sentence.
Uh-huh.
You don't need to say nothing else with it.
Exactly.
Some beautiful, healthy boundaries you just set around yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, Rebekah, we have to come back and you brought up boundaries. So let's save that one for our next conversation and talk about the importance of boundaries.
Oh, it's a good one.
Yes, it is. So again, how do people connect with you?
Easiest place to find me is LinkedIn. But I also have a website, www.RebekahHansenCoach.com. So it's just like it's spelled on the screen, except it's all one big word.
Yes. And real quickly, tell us about your workshops that you're working on and how people can connect and some dates and things like that.
My next one actually is July the 6th. And so it'll be a week from this coming Thursday, but it depends on when you're actually hearing this. So it might not be a week by then, but it's usually held on a Thursday at this point. So I usually have them on Eventbrite. So if you look on Eventbrite under my name, you can find them easier. But if you don't remember anything else, look up Grace in Overwhelm. Okay. That's my free workshops that I do. And it's all about the 5 steps I give you to give yourself grace in those difficult seasons so that you can step out of that, whatever you're in, and back toward grace. Because that's what it is. It's just let's just turn this around and start heading the way we want to go. Because that's what grace is all about, is just giving yourself permission to be where you are and then permission to move forward.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you, Rebekah. We truly appreciate you. And we are definitely looking forward to our next conversation, boundaries.
Yes.
This is a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Hansen.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.